Welcome everyone to our info session where we're going to focus mainly on the guided independent studies in Mexico and France. I want to thank Andre for being here representing the group that went to Mexico, and Maddie, who went all by her lonesome to France. And it's a great opportunity for the other students who attend the session to get to hear directly from folks who have actually participated. So I am going for, I think at least Nina and maybe Madeline have attended some of the other sessions. I don't think Tyler has, so there's going to be some repetition. We are recording today, so this will be useful to the folks who signed up who didn't manage to get here yet or won't make it to the session. So I am going to share screen. We're going to start by, let's see if I can do this. Are you seeing my slideshow? Thanks, Andre. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start out with some general information that I want everybody to know about the big picture on opportunities, and emphasizing the fact that at Penn Nursing, we really are committed to having all of our students who are interested engage in global opportunities. We believe it's important for all of our students to be global citizens, to understand the world they're in, the various populations that they may care for. So all of these global experiences really help to make you a world citizen. I note the global pandemic impact. This is something that Andre and Maddie felt most likely much more than anybody who travels this year will feel. But we, throughout the semester, when we were planning for their travel, we were emphasizing the possibility of everything falling apart and travel not actually happening or being interrupted. When we speak about global experiences in general, whether there's a pandemic going on or not, we're still in this world that is uncertain. And so I always emphasize flexibility, being prepared for whatever might happen. And that's a part of the fun of travel, when something unexpected happens and you get to test your survival tools in a good way, of knowing how you can adjust to different circumstances, which will also help you in your professional careers. This is a schematic. I'm going to show you two different ones, but basically this lays out for you all of the kinds of global experiences you can have while a nursing student. The N5350s are comparative healthcare courses. We had info sessions for Thailand and Spain already. There are also courses that are virtual for Hong Kong, and multinational, which gives you exposure to folks from 3 or 4 different continents, students who are taking classes just like you, and you interact with them from all these different countries. And they're going to focus on climate challenges this year. Penn Global Seminars, I've been sending information. I hope you've all received it. Particularly, this is for our undergrads and second degree students, meaning ABSN, second bachelor's degree students. These are opportunities that I highly encourage all of our students to partake of, because they're super well funded and very, very interesting. 2 of them are offered by our faculty. There was one in Chile and one in China. They're offered in the fall. But there are also a large number of courses that are super interesting that are offered by faculty from across the campus. And in all Penn Global Seminars, students from all of the undergraduate schools are invited to participate. So it's a nice way to interact with people you don't see every day. I'll skip the guided independent studies because we're going to go into that in a little bit. There are semesters abroad also. United Kingdom is very iffy right now, but we fully intend to have Australia and Israel in the fall. And those courses are typically taken in your last year working on your BSN. For students who are interested in longer experiences that don't earn credit, we have the GRIP program through Penn Abroad, and that's a research and internship program. One of them is in Ireland, and that one has been created really by our faculty, Dr. Sarah Kagan, and the Pulitzer Fellowship that I'm closely involved in, which allows you, if you like to write and you want to tell the story that's not often known to the world, the Pulitzer Fellowship is a reporting fellowship where you get training from professional journalists and you can tell an important story. Those experiences are a minimum of 8 weeks in length. And the CASI, which is the Center for the Advanced Study of India, also has internship opportunities that can be very interesting, some of them with a health focus. Everything I'm talking about today, you are all welcome to get in touch with me at any time for further information. Again, this is just another way of looking at the overview of opportunities you have. I've divided them into what the School of Nursing is offering you directly and what Penn Abroad or Penn Global oversees. So we are very close partners with Penn Abroad. They are there to serve us and also other students on campus. So through Penn Abroad, you make your application for the semester abroad and for the GRIP program and for Penn Global seminars. I've sent you all information. Yesterday, I sent an email. I hope you all got it. That gave you the deadlines for the global seminars and for the GRIP program. I also encourage you to get on their mailing list so that you get all the updates and you learn when new applications become available. The School of Nursing, this encompasses those short-term faculty-led programs, as well as the guided independent study programs that I'm going to focus on today, and a true independent study. If any of you wanted to develop the whole course all by yourself, I can help guide you in that process. So, Penn Global seminars, again, because I think they're so important, I want you to know, again, I am emphasizing this, so they're for traditional undergrads and for second degree undergrads as well. They, as I told you, were offered by faculty across the campus and the nursing-led ones. And I'm here again, banging into that the applications have opened. Yes, they opened 2 days ago. They close on November 14th. And I'm going to be sharing all of these slides with you. So this is a linked, the website and mailing list, there's a link there. So you'll be able to see that when you get the slides, if you decide you want to have a handy way of getting onto that mailing list. Again, these are like our comparative health courses at the School of Nursing, which existed long before Penn Global seminars were invented. They are semester-long courses that have a short travel component in them. They have a flat program fee of $950, including airfare. So this is really, really, really a fabulously well subsidized program for any student, any undergrad student. And financial aid packages can even be applied to the $950. This is far less costly than other programs you'll see, including ours. We work very hard at the School of Nursing to make everything affordable for all of our students, but we can't compete with $950. Those internships, as I mentioned, they don't have academic credit, but they're fabulous because they're long, you're on your own. You will learn so much and get really valuable experience, whether you did that through the India program or through one of the GRIP programs, including the Pulitzer Reporting Fellowship. It's just a photo there with contact information. And as well as you'll see on the bottom of this slide, once again, you've got the website and mailing list links that you'll have when you get the slides. Semesters abroad, as I said, England is probably not happening next fall, but we do expect to have Australia and Israel. Probably tomorrow, I'm going to send out an email to the class of 24 and the class of 25 regarding the Israel semester abroad, because those are the two classes that might want to be considering that in the next year or two. And we'll just have a little get together with some Mediterranean themed food, and we can meet with the faculty person who is the main contact with our Israeli contacts for anyone interested. Semesters abroad, though, are so we manage at the School of Nursing, we manage to make sure that the content of your semester abroad will keep you advancing in your nursing curriculum. But the administration of the program is through Penn Abroad and their application process. They work closely with us to make it all work. At any time, by the way, while we're having this presentation, please feel free to put in chat any questions you have. You can do it in direct chat, just to me or to everyone if there's a question you think may be of interest to everyone. If you want further information on something that strikes your fancy as we go through the talks, just feel free to use chat. Okay, we're getting close here. So the guided independent studies are what we're focusing on today. In Paris, France, you get to spend 4 weeks in June, and Oaxaca, Mexico, 6 weeks beginning in mid-May and ending at the end of June. The program in Paris, as lots of repetition today, 1 month, there's an orientation and a comparative healthcare course. It's very public health focused, and there will be visits to hospitals and clinics. There is an observership that can be tailored to your interests. Now, in prior years, we've always said it was that you were required to have 4 semesters of college level French in order to participate. They have modified this requirement now, and you can actually go with little to no French. The difference will be that instead of that observership week, you would have more courses that help you focus on a public health research project. And I think Maddie will be able to tell us something about that. Then we have the Instituto Cultural Oaxaca and Fundación Envía. And this is a program that is designed, this one you absolutely have to have the 4 weeks of college level Spanish to be able to consider this course. When you arrive in Oaxaca, you will have a placement test. You'll have a couple of weeks of general Spanish lessons combined with an intercambio, which will be like a conversational hour with someone from Oaxaca or from Mexico. Again, Andre is going to be able to tell you more of the true details, and a workshop. That could be salsa dancing. I think that's what Andre's group got. And sometimes it's weaving and sometimes it's cooking, but you don't necessarily get to choose. There is a homestay involved. The homestay is a family home, but probably there are no more kids in the home. The reason they're able to offer their home is because the children have left and they now have extra rooms. I can't say for sure. Again, Andre is going to be the expert on this, but each homestay could be different. And there is at least one fabulous weekend excursion built into the program. And I think that, and then there is the important part is the next 4 weeks you spend preparing to offer talks to women in small villages outside of the city of Oaxaca. So it's health education focused. You also have medical Spanish during those same 4 weeks, so that as you're preparing talks for the women in the communities, you're getting some guidance from your teachers at the Institute who help you with vocabulary and ways of expressing yourself around health topics. Financial aid, I just want you to all know that if you should schedule a meeting with our financial aid folks. John DeLong is a financial aid counselor on the mezzanine. You can meet with him to talk about your individual circumstances, but as I said, we think this should be affordable for all of our students, and there will be a way, so don't think you're priced out of anything. And these are just some considerations. Again, you'll have the slides. And there you've got on the bottom of this slide, email financialaid@nursing.upenn to set up your personal appointment. I do want to point out, I'm going to see if this is going to work today, that you can find most of this information, even if you lose my emails and you lose the slides I'll send. I want you to know that when you're on the main page of Penn Nursing, there's a global health tab. And within that tab, there's a student opportunities tab where you will see all of these opportunities organized by semester, short-term, internship. On the short term, for example, you can click on France and you will get to that program, prerequisites, etc. Or you can click on Mexico and get to the program we're going to talk about in a short while. So let's see now if I can find my way back to my presentation. Probably not. Let's see, I'll go this way, make it easy for myself. And now we've gotten to the important program focus period. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can hear from Andre and Maddie directly. And I am a little disappointed. I mean, I'm thrilled to have Madeline, Tyler, and Nina here, and Gabby here. But we did have, I think we had 15 or 16 people RSVP. I think the noon hour and the beautiful weather may be working against us. But if our guests were willing to turn on their cameras, it would be nice to see you, but you don't have to. And I'd like to start by asking each, Andre, who's going to, again, representing the Mexico program, and Maddie representing the France program. I would like to ask each of them to tell us what they consider the highlights and also the lowlights. What were the most challenging or unpleasant parts of the experience, but what were the most rewarding parts? Andre, why don't we start with you?
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see everyone. I'm Andre. I think I know some of you as your teaching assistant from anatomy, but I went to the Oaxaca trip. I think the highlight for me, which I didn't expect to get so much, but I gained so much, was staying with my homestay family. I stayed in one by myself, and then the other 3 students were in another house. But after we'd eat breakfast and come together, I think we were always excited to talk about what foods we tried. But I think during my homestay experience too, I learned a lot just chatting with my host family as they were preparing breakfast. They would play like the news in the morning, and so we'd listen to it. And we would just end up talking about random things. And I think I learned a lot there. That was actually a very educational part, even though it wasn't like the formal classes we were taking in Spanish or medical Spanish. I think the only low light, if anything, but I think it was a worthwhile challenge, was as Nancy mentioned, we were doing health education workshops with some of the local communities that one of the nonprofits that we worked with kind of like the women who participate in their programs. And I think it was just so much of a challenge to like get out of the mindset of what we have here in the United States in terms of our healthcare resources, even just depending on calling 911 for emergencies, and realizing that we had to do like our research a little bit differently to find information to present that would actually be relevant to what everyone had available in Oaxaca. I think one of the workshops we did was about like first aid too. And I think we were talking about CPR and basic life support. But I think some of the, we would talk about calling like emergency numbers, and then the women that we would present to would be like, those don't really happen like after sundown. So it was just interesting, and it was a nice exchange. But I think preparing that workshop just presented some challenges. But at the end of it, it was a really great learning experience. But I had a great time, and it was yeah, it was a great experience to be in Oaxaca.
Thanks, Andre. Before Maddie comments, I want to say something about what you experienced. It was extreme, probably because of such an environment that was so different, like no 911 reliable. But one of the reasons I think global experiences is so important is that it may open our eyes up to the fact that actually, even here, when you're interacting with patients in the US, they are going to have challenges that may not be clear, obvious to you. So even a 911 call in one neighborhood over another, or in a rural area over an urban area, responses may be different. The reliability of services very different. When we make recommendations to people about medications and the foods that they should eat for their health, we often don't realize the resources they don't have to make those things possible in the US. So I think that consciousness of understanding the people you're caring for and not assuming that they can get what you want them to have is a really great thing to keep in mind. And that sometimes we acquire that sensitivity and empathy better abroad and then can apply it back home. That's my editorializing on that. And Maddie, high notes, low notes?
I think overall it was such a great experience. And, everyone I tell, like, I'm so glad they kind of did to, a certain extent, leave the language thing a little, because I have so many friends that I've told about it and they're like, oh, but I don't know French super well. And it's even like, friends who are in the sophomore class right now who would, I'm sure, love the opportunity. But yeah, overall, it was a really great experience. I think the best part for me, the program itself was awesome. There were like 10 people in my program. It ended up being 10, it was 10 girls in my program. And half of us were from the US, half of us were from Canada. And I got to know the people really well. And we did a lot of like small group based discussion. And even when we did that final project on researching a health issue, and, when we went to the hospitals, it was nice to just like get to know my group. I did go over there as the only kid from Penn. So I became really close with two girls who were from San Diego. So I think getting to explore Paris and even other parts of France with them just was like an incredible opportunity. And, I'll always remember it. I guess, less good parts of it. Let me think. A month is the perfect amount of time, I think, when it comes down to it. To kind of be abroad, like that was the conclusion I came to, and June is such a good month to go. But I think that the program itself is very busy, and you have a lot of hospital visits, and it's not even so much that so much of your day is taken up by it, but it's spread out across different days. So I was able to go to Nice, and I was also able to go to Normandy, which was really cool on the weekends. But there isn't a ton of room. I know people who study abroad for a semester do like trips to different parts of Europe. So go to Spain, go to Italy, go to Croatia. I think in terms of that, it's definitely harder to manage your, spending a lot of time in Paris, but that's good because you really, I think, get to know the city. So that's my feedback.
Those are also interesting comments. And I think that some of the students who do trips like the one to France, it is 4 weeks, but then you do have the rest of the summer if you wanted to do some exploring in Europe, if conditions allowed, conditions and finances and all the rest. And I think that the theme of the guided independent study, I should say why I think this is a great experience for students, is exactly what Maddie is sort of pointing out as the low light, and that is the length of time you stay in one place, that you might actually get to know a place a little bit more than, that concept of, oh, I'm going to set foot in 14 countries in 2 weeks. Like, what do you get out of that? So you're going to have this time to really choose to or not to get to know a place. And you're doing it on your own without the guidance of faculty there. so these are good experiences for people who feel they can go off on their own. And if you do, the reward is fabulous because you have that confidence of traveling and you get to kind of blaze your own trail, versus our other wonderful courses that you have the advantage of a faculty person with you who is helping point you to different things. So there are, you know, you need the right match of the right student for the experience. And of course, you're not on your own here. These are all contacts that we create out of my office with the organization in Mexico and the organization in Paris. So you are well cared for. You just have some independence. Maddie, Andre, are there other things you would like people to know before they start asking you questions?
I would just say, like, if you're thinking about it, even the part of being on your own, like, you know, I'm someone who I do think I'm very independent, and I always would say I'd rather, you know, set foot in a city and kind of figure it out for myself than go by a guided tour or anything like that. But I'm also someone who loves going places with my friends, with my family, having people. And I think it lends itself to a unique opportunity when you do go by myself. And I think there were, you know, parts of me that wished at first, I was like, oh, well, I wish, you know, like my roommate who's also in nursing and knows French was able to go, and like, or this person or that person. But you do really have the opportunity to meet people. And I did make good friends who, you know, I still talk to, and presumably am going back to, you know, France or doing some traveling with hopefully in the future. So I think that, yeah, you're really not out on your own island, and it's a short enough time that even if, you know, you're like, okay, this is hard, and, you know, whatever, like it is 4 weeks, and 4 weeks, you know, can feel long enough and can feel short enough depending on your experience.
I think one thing that I guess I never got to study abroad when I was an undergrad, and I think some of you have told, like, I did undergrad here at Penn, and I was really glad for this opportunity later in my education to go. I think one thing that sometimes we were concerned about, and also something that I think no matter where you go, you should think about when you're traveling, is safety. And I think that I just wanted to mention that I think in Oaxaca we felt pretty safe. The group of us, the 4 of us, always stayed together. My homestay, my host family, they told me that they just gave their tips on what they thought would keep us safe. And like, I think the one tip that my host family just said was just avoid dark streets when you're walking home at night. And in all the years that they've been hosting students from different universities, they never had a student with an incident and stuff. So I think it's a balance. You know, you kind of want to have a plan of how you'll just make sure you're not going blind everywhere, and you might want to stay together with the group that you're with. But I think overall, yeah, I felt pretty good walking around Oaxaca all the times that we were out.
Thanks, Andre and Maddie. And I think that that's a great point about safety. And I think you need in life to carry your street smarts with you wherever you go. Oaxaca feels like a much smaller town. It may feel a little more comfortable than Philly. For those of you who are not from big eastern northeast city, you know, Philly might have been a shock for you, getting your alerts from UPenn all the time about what's happened on one street or another very close to campus. This is a reality. And so using your awareness, you know, keeping your eyes wide open, keeping yourself hopefully not too influenced by any kind of drugs or alcohol will keep your mind clear and safer on the streets. So those are good things to do. But I will tell you, there, in all transparency, that we actually had a group that were accosted in Oaxaca. They were held up. They weren't hurt physically, but they actually had a couple of things stolen. They were out on a big walk, and it happened. So and those things can happen. And I can tell you about folks who've been pickpocketed on trains in the Netherlands, and most people, you know, and I'm sure you all, by the time you're done with your experience in Philly, will maybe hear 1 or 2 little incidents, hopefully nothing serious, but things may happen. And then we just had, you saw this terrible incident in Korea, which is normally, I would think, a very safe place to be. And talk about dark streets, stay away from narrow alleys with thousands of people together. That stampede, and I think half the people there were foreigners celebrating Halloween. So not to frighten people, but to be realistic, life happens everywhere and challenges happen everywhere. So let's see if anybody has any questions. I know, Tyler, thank you for at least unmasking yourself. And I remember that you have some strong French skills, if I remember correctly. So I bet you're interested in France. But I hope Madeline and Nina will also maybe appear and let us know if they have any questions. Anyone?
I guess for you, Maddie, I was just going to ask about like the structure of like how it works, like with like doing the hospital visits and then in the end doing like the research that you had done.
Yeah, okay. So I can also dig up anything I have and give you my email, my number, if you want me to send you even like, what the schedule looked like, if that would be helpful for you. A lot of it worked like, so you were in one course, and the course actually took place where we lived. So I don't know if you've ever been to France before, but we lived in it was like the 5th arrondissement it was called, and it was a beautiful area. It was right across from like the Luxembourg Gardens. It was where all the students were. So we lived there, and it was like a big like student hostel type of dorm situation. And there was a class that took place there, and that class happened a few times a week. It was like, I want to say 2 hours. And it was basically like a seminar. Like the teacher was great. You all talked, and through that is what you did your research on. So only 2 people in my group, they had do the I guess the guided observership thing at the end. And they were 2 people who like one of them was from France, and one of them had already done stuff and like lived in France for a long period of time. So they did it, and then the rest of us just like chose some topic related. So like I did a lot about like French like school lunch nutrition and like pediatric like population, and you basically just do some research and write like little presentation, write a paper. And then the other portion of the course is with the same group of kids, or I guess adults, whatever. You go to like these different hospitals. So there may have been like, I want to say like maybe 7 or 8, max 10 visits. And it wasn't even just hospitals. Like you visited like embassies, you visited like the UN, just like different things like that. Same thing, like a few hours. So you had a lot of your day open to do whatever, to like walk around, to explore. So we had a lot of free time, which was nice.
Thanks, Maddie. That was a good question, Tyler. And actually, I've gotta ask you this, Maddie, since you said you worked on school lunches. Was this something comparative? Because France is like well known, at least for the preschool age, they care about food so much that at least even preschoolers, they provide excellent food.
Yes, and like different courses. Yep. So yeah.
So school lunches look different from school lunches in the US.
So different.
For that alone, it's worth going. Okay, and we have a couple of great questions in chat. Starting with Nina, who says, and this question would go both to you, Andre and Maddie. Why did you choose to do this kind of guided independent study over other opportunities?
I could go first, I guess. Well, practically speaking, it's what as a graduate student, as a PhD student, is once I was eligible for. But I think I guess one thing that came to mind was, even though it is independent, I feel like there was a lot of support. We kept in touch with Nancy via WhatsApp. And like we had our homestay family, and the faculty and the staff at the Instituto Cultural de Oaxaca were also available, and they kind of knew our schedule too. So there is some guidance there. And so I think that even it being independent, there was still a lot of support to turn to while we were going through the whole trip.
Andre, before you went, you didn't exactly know what that would be. So I think maybe Nina's question is also sort of what drew you to this 6-week experience in Mexico, 4-week experience in France versus something that would have been with faculty and other students from the school and maybe 10 days of travel? Were there any features of this guided independent study that made you go there versus one of our comparative healthcare courses?
Yeah, I think I liked too, because we did have a little bit of wiggle room for like side trips and just exploring and doing things on our own time. And I think that's kind of nice, especially during the week. Like it was a little concentrated with classes and with the other activities that we were doing. And so to have a little bit of flexibility, I think was just nice while traveling as well. So that aspect of like an independent study, I think I liked as well.
Maddie?
I think for me, it was a lot about the program itself. Paris was somewhere that I really wanted to go. And I think the fact that honestly that it took place in, the early summer, rather than over the course of a whole semester, or even, I really do think it was the right amount of time. So yeah, I was lucky that, I went, I was home for a few weeks and I went and I was able to, have a job when I came back. I was able to do like different things like that, and just, have the rest of my summer, but also not really miss time on campus, which I think is kind of a little bit of an underlying fear for a lot of people with, studying for a whole semester, and same thing, like having more time than just a couple of days where, you're packed in with activities that relate to like what you're learning in the class, and like having the time to explore and to like, like we spent so much time like, like reading in a park, like reading in the park, like it's just such like a little silly thing, to think about, but you just like get to sit in a city and just like almost live there. Like I didn't even, like we would joke at the end, like all the tourists are coming out, like we weren't tourists too, because we just spent time like going about our normal daily activities kind of around the city. So I think it was just such a perfect kind of bridge of time for me.
I love that response. And I personally do think that's a great thing about being, even if I were going to a, like if I'm even traveling in the US, I want to take the subway. I want to see what real people are doing in that place and not just hop from a hotel to a restaurant. That's personal, all personal preferences. And Madeline had a good question here. I think this one is for you, Andre. What was transport like between your homestay, where you had classes, and where you went into the community?
We walked almost everywhere. The homestays were located maybe like a 10-minute walk away from where we were doing language classes, and then another 15 minutes and we were kind of in like the downtown central part of Oaxaca City. When we went into the community for like the workshops we were doing, the organization that we were volunteering with they had like a driver in a small van, and so I think that was about like maybe in an hour most was the furthest workshop that we did, but they arranged transportation for those part. But otherwise, yeah, we kind of just walked everywhere. I think I remember Nancy had shared with us a guide that previous students had like edited and put their own tips in and everything. And I think we were like, I was ready for like all the tips that was in there for like taking taxis and whatnot, but I don't think we rode a taxi once, but yeah, we just walked everywhere.
And thanks, Andre. So, and that is again about the flexibility factor. Each year, every one of these experiences, you can hear what people have done before. You can hear about the homestays they had, but you may have a very different experience. This past year, I think maybe because of the pandemic, they were very focused on transport, but there are times in that guide that Andre got, it would have focused on ways that you're going to use maybe public transportation even to get to those communities. That can happen, but you're again guided on how to do that safely. And in fact, the guide for Oaxaca is something that we build over time. So Andre and the other 3 students who went with him all sent me edits for that guide so that we try to keep it as realistic as possible. So yeah, and how about, okay, anyone else with questions, repeat questions? If you know that you want to be considered for the France program or the Oaxaca program at this point, send me a direct message or put something in chat. Let me know that you want me to be in touch with you to follow up. And you don't have to decide that today, but if you let me know, I will keep you on my radar. And specify which program you're interested in. And we still have a few minutes if anyone has any more questions. No question too big or too small, because I know that Maddie and Andre can handle it all. Then if we have no further questions, I can give you back 15 minutes for your beautiful afternoon. And you follow up anytime with me with any questions you may have. Again, sincere thanks to Andre and Maddie for being here. It really adds a lot to have your perspectives and the reality. And we are recording today, so the students who had RSVP'd who couldn't attend will still get to hear your pearls of wisdom. Thank you all for coming, and be in touch, please. Au revoir et hasta la próxima.
Hi, Nancy.
Bye, thank you.
Now I'm going to stop the recording in a second.